Hello everyone, Jimmy is with you as always, and today as usual, we will have two wonderful parts with stories. I hope you did not forget to like and subscribe to the channel. This is very important to me. Let's get started. The first story for today will be from the user Mucho Stressed. Let's listen to her. My boyfriend White, 21, and I, Indian 20, have been dating for 2 years now. We met in college, and for the past 2 years, I hid this relationship from my parents as they are super conservative, and I guess I was scared to tell them. A little background on my family. We have been living in the States for almost 15 years. My mother does not speak English, and it seems whenever I do anything against my parents' wishes, they start shouting, I have become too American, and almost always use emotional blackmail on me in those instances. Anyway, the other day, boyfriend and I went to a restaurant for a date, and I decided to stop by my parents' house to drop off some food for them. I figured I could just show them me, hanging out with a guy to prepare them for later. Finding out I was dating BF, and I dropped off food, and I simply said, "This is pointing to my BF," not specifying what our relationship was. My parents' faces showed a mixture of shock or surprise, or a little anger, but I was not completely sure. After the very quick intro BF, and I headed back to college, the next day I hung out with my mother and she told me the guy last night had an innocent face and that she liked that. I realized this was a good segue and said yeah. Also, he and I have been on like 1 or 2 dates and we're sort of dating. She took the news a lot better than I thought she would, saying that it was okay on her side, but I needed to talk to my dad. Oh boy. Well, after a couple days since I kept not being able to muster up the courage to tell him, I spoke to my father. I told him I and the guy he had met last week had been on 1 or 2 dates and were currently dating. And since it was an important event in my life, I wanted to tell them my parents about it. I also asked if it was okay to have him over at our house for the summer so I could hang out with him. My dad immediately grew very serious and replied, "No," he went on to say, "Why do you need to date? If you want a boy meaning for marriage, I will find you one I." Of course, replied, "I'm not talking about marriage. I haven't even started mid-school yet." After that, here is the gist of what he said. "You need to end this. You're our only hope here. And I can't imagine an American in the family. You are a role model for your sister. Keep that in mind." I didn't reply anything, and soon we reached where he was dropping me off, so I got out of the car. That was yesterday morning. Since then, he has not talked to me last night. When he came home, my mother asked everyone to come to dinner, and he kept saying he wasn't hungry or didn't have an appetite. After a lot of persuading by my mother, he finally agreed to eat in the living room. That was 24 hours ago. Today, in the evening, I took a little nap and woke up to my parents discussing me upstairs. My father was saying she has become modern, wanting to date. My brother also did his medicine in the United States, and he didn't even think about dating anyone in this time. She has no shame. Then I also heard my mother crying and saying, "Who do we have to live for? We could find her a medical boy." And my dad replies, "She herself hasn't done medicine yet." After hearing that, I didn't want to hear anymore and went into the bathroom. I don't know what to do. I feel very nervous and extremely stressed all the time, and I do not feel like eating anything. I am trying to feel happy, but then I hear stuff like this. My parents have never been the encouraging kind in any way. The other night, we were going out to dinner, and I wore a dress and a blazer, and he looked at me and said, "You look like a Gawar." Gawar, meaning like a villager, or uncivilized. That made me cry, and when he saw me crying, he was like, "Stop it," I replied. Other dads tell their daughters how beautiful they look on their graduation. And then there's you. He didn't reply anything to that. Anyway, that was a side story. But the point is, my dad can be quite an unwise at times, and I don't know how this whole situation is going to sort out. I obviously do not want to stop dating my BF and would like my family to accept what's going on. I think deep down, I also fear getting sent back to India or something. I wish my parents could see that dating my BF makes me happy. I'm scared to talk to them, especially my dad. Any advice would be appreciated. Thank you. Author update the story. This morning, my maternal grandparents from India called, and my grandmother spoke to me, saying that my dad had called her, saying that she and my grandpa needed to come to the States right now, and asked when he should book their tickets. Of course, this is because of what I told him, that I've started dating this white guy, and she asked me why he was so worried. Then she proceeded to say how I should be happy because she could tell by my voice that I wasn't, and how I should make my family happy, and that I need to focus on my education. Then she also said something that made me very scared, that my dad had talked about how he wants to sell our house and move back to India. Meanwhile, my mother keeps crying and saying, "Why are we even living here? Do you think we'd pick a wrong guy for you? Yeah, you may be dating now, but what if down the road you want to marry a white guy?" I kept saying that I had introduced my BF to them because it was what was making me happy. But of course, my mother kept claiming, "That is not our culture. I don't care that we've lived here for so long. You need to look at your Indian heritage. All our relatives and family would laugh at us, at you." My grandmother asked me what she should tell my dad, so I told her that I wanted to discuss things with him myself, and that I would later tonight. I am freaking out. I do not doubt that my dad would sell our house and move all of us to India. I will be talking to him later tonight. I have Indian neighbors who have a son who's dating a white girl, and I am considering calling them in private and telling them about this and asking them to stop by our house tonight when I bring this up with my dad. Maybe they will be able to help explain that dating is not a bad thing and show my dad that selling the house and moving back to India is not the answer. I'm really scared though. Second update. Last night, I talked to my parents. I started off the discussion saying that my dad and I were mature adults, and thus we should deal with this situation like adults sit down and talk it out. I then said, "Listen, I understand that as a parent where you are coming from. You want the best for me, but your ideas on life and your thoughts are very different from mine." At this, he interrupted me and said, "You listen to me? I have sacrificed so much for my family. They married me off at 21, saying they needed the money. Dowry, and I didn't resist. Why bequests? I respected my parents, and I knew that they knew the best for me. After you go to med school and get done, you will have many opportunities to find someone. I will not stop you. The only thing I will not stand for is that he be an American. There are millions of people in the world. Why an American? Ever since you told me about this dating thing, I keep waking up with nightmares at 4 in the morning, knowing it's an American. You will never marry an American. I will be dead to you that day. Anyway, I won't bore you with all the details, but I was very calm, surprisingly, and didn't cry and tried to be rational, asking why he can't be an American whenever I do decide to marry. All he would reply is, "He just can't." After a lot of blah blah blah, he was like, "You've become totally American and individualistic. You don't care about your family anymore. I've talked to some of my friends about selling the house in a year after your sister completes high school, and we will go back to India." At this, I said, "Well, what about me? I want to stay here and get a really good medical education." When he heard this, he flipped out and turned to my mom and said, "Do you see how shameless she is? She doesn't care that we would go back to India. She just cares about paying for her medical education. Fine, we'll sell the house and give you the money and you can do whatever the hell you want." Now, of course, I was like, "That is not what I said. I meant, you don't want to see me become a great doctor here. That is my dream, and I don't care about the money. I will take out loans and stuff. I would like you guys to be here when I do become a doctor. Why do I have to choose?" saying, "That was a dumb move on my part, LOL." Because it kind of gave him the idea to make me choose. And he said, "You're leaving us no option." What options are you giving us? You need to choose between your family or this boy. At this, I replied, "I am giving you an option. I am saying that I plan to keep dating him, and it would be great if I could have your guys' support. But if not, what can I do?" At this, he flips again and screams to my mom, "Did you hear what she said? She said that she's going to keep dating him, and we can either support her or she will date him anyway, and we can go to hell." After this, he threw his glasses on the floor in anger and lunged at the ground, shouting and crying, and it seemed as he would hurt himself. My mother and sister ran to stop him before he did anything like that. And then they were all hugging, and my dad was like, Sorry. I need to care for my younger daughter. Our older one has shamed us. I need to look after you guys." Again, he said all this while crying. Then he got a call, and I took it as good opportunity to grab a book and go read outside my house on the porch. After a while, my dad comes outside, saying sarcastically, "Yeah, I know how much reading you're getting done. "Give me the number of the guy, my BF." At first, I was silent. Then after he asked again, I said, "No, I won't." I did not want my dad verbally abusing my BF. At this, he comes in front of me. I was sitting, he was standing, and very angrily, he was like, "What did you say?" and punched me on the side of my head. I looked at him square in the eye and said, "Do not hit me again." He said, "Or what you're going to call the police on me." I said, "Yes, I will. I do not want to get hurt." He seemed like he was gonna do something in anger again, but my mom came and took him inside. I did not want to stick around the house, and so I took a walk around my neighborhood until it got super dark. I went to my room later and just tried to sleep it off. I was very tired from all of it. Then around midnight, my mom came to give me food and I decided to eat, but she then called my grandmother in India and handed me the phone. My grandmother was crying and just saying, I should listen to my parents. I told her I would call her tomorrow, aka today. It's afternoon right now, I'm helping my sister study. But my mother is talking on the phone and crying loudly, saying I expected so much from her, who, do we have to live for, blah blah blah. I am so tired. And no, I didn't end up taking the neighbor's help last night because they didn't answer their phone. I was going to a friend's sleepover tonight, which I had told my parents about earlier in the week, and just found out they have hid my car keys since I can't find it. Great. What I think about it? If you want your parents to stop controlling you, stop acting like they can. You're an adult. They can't send you to India and they can't marry you off. It's your life, and you can do what you want with it. I know there's a lot of pressure in Indian families, just like there was in families of other ethnicities. A few generations ago, it's up to people like you to change this family dynamic for future generations. User Lubags commented the story. I will try to give you the best advice I can. I am a white male, I'm quarter Lebanese, but you wouldn't know until I told you, and have experience dating. Foreign women with very strict parents, especially the dads. First off, when your dad keeps forbidding you to marry an American, you should remind him that you are an American and thank him for making that possible. Don't do it in a sarcastic way to make him feel like he did something horribly wrong. Be genuine so he knows you truly are happy that he brought you and made you a citizen of this great country. Now, as an American, and at the age of 20 years old, you are an adult. So let him know that he has already succeeded as a parent because you have reached adulthood, and his support was the foundation that made that possible. But that's just it though. You are an adult. You are your own person, and you need to think independently. He now is just your dad. He is no longer your guardian and cannot make decisions for you anymore. That is the world he brought you to and raised you in for a better education and life. He needs to accept that and, in my opinion, be happy for the woman America has and is helping you to become. I'm familiar with how you were brought up. My current girlfriend is Arabic with 3 older sisters. They had to force their independence into the acceptance of their parents. Indian and Arabic males are very, very controlling and stubborn from my experiences. Ultimately, the only way around this will probably be total defiance until he accepts your decision as a mature adult capable of independent thinking. The best way of achieving that, do not show him that you are affected by his disapproval. If he bothers you, cry, but not in front of him. Show your father that you are completely confident in what you think is right and how you feel, and that you will not back down. You are your own person. It's wrong of him to simulate the notion you were brought into this world as a product of your family, and that you can only act in favor of your family. You need to do what's best for you and follow your heart. Your family will be completely fine and unaffected, no matter who you chose to marry or date. And for them to act differently is just manipulative and wrong. To pit themselves against you because you are a different person and have different feelings, beliefs, is not acting like a family at all and is completely their doing. You're not doing this to push them away. You want their love and support. They are choosing to take a side against you. Maybe in India, that is how it is. And maybe he is so harsh and strong because he never really had a choice and his decisions were made for him. But look at how women are treated in India compared to in the US. If he doesn't want to accept this and wants to move away and cut off his support for you, that might be something you need to live with. There are plenty of ways to pay for your school, and I'm sure you are a very smart girl and will make it one way or another. Sooner or later, you have to be able to do it yourself anyway. Better to know you were true to yourself than let someone whose interests do not coincide with your heart manipulate the way you live your life. One thing for sure, he cannot force you to leave the States. You do not have to get on that plane. And if he does that, he is turning his back on you. One day, you will have your own family, and you will show them true love and support. And I promise, the rest of your family will want to share in that love. So we have come to the end of the first part. Thank you for watching to the end. Jimmy was with you. See you today in the second part. I love you all.